Hello, I'm Dennis Embry. Welcome to my home, and it's my pleasure to talk to you today about prevention for everyone, for all of our futures. Our futures depend on thousands, if not millions of people that we don't see every day, but they're out here in my community in Tucson. They are affecting the lives of your children, my grandchildren, my foster children, my godchildren. All of those people account and predict their actions, influence the future of the children that we hold dear in our lives. Now, our children rest on this sort of delicately balanced pyramid of the lives of other children, influencing their own. And if other children have ADHD, aggression, depression, bipolar disorder, tobacco problems, drug or alcohol problems, crime or dangerous acts, or depression or violence, or learning disabilities, or even other illnesses such as obesity and high blood pressure and the risk of cancer, all of those things over time affect the futures of the children that we hold dear. Now that's gambling with the future to say, well, I'll take care of my own and I don't care about those other people. But we can't do that in modern society. We don't live like hermits. We don't live in log cabins. We don't live up on the top of the mountains. I have neighbors next to me with children who are only 20 feet away. And you do too in your own community. What we need to do is to pay attention and not gamble with our futures or their futures or our loved ones' futures. Now recently, a noted organization in this country organized a poll of citizens all across the country, just like opinion polls that we ordinarily do for many issues. But strangely enough, no one was asking what people actually thought of issues of prevention for our children, for our futures. 77% of Americans believe that prevention will save money. 72% say investing in prevention is important because it will prevent disease and save lives. 57% say they support prevention programs for health and quality of life reasons. And 21% say they would support it just to lower cost. But notice the most important thing, that American citizens, like us, want prevention for all of our children, not just our own. Now, if we are hearing the heartbeat of America, 59% of the nation feels that we need to put more emphasis on prevention. Now, this is a 20% increase in the total number of people in America who have said, we need more prevention. And we're not listening to that in our work, in our healthcare programs, in our political movements. None of that is really penetrating. And today, I want you to hear that so that we together can act on all of our futures and work toward prevention for everyone. Now, right now, we have prevention rationing for our children. We go through these elaborate logic models to decide what few precious people will get prevention. So it might be those people over there who get the meager crumbs of prevention, or that neighborhood or that community, or maybe even a section of a state. But that's not how we have traditionally approached prevention in the United States. I'm old enough to remember when we had a polio epidemic. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona, when people were terrified that their children, which was me then, I was one of those kids, would contract polio, be in an iron lung. Now, after we invented a scientifically proven vaccine for polio, we didn't just give it to a few kids. We didn't just give it to your kid or to your kid or to your kid. We gave it to every single child in America to make sure that they were safe. We mobilized the country. Teachers came, citizens came to all of the schools, and we stood in line, and some of us, yes, I cried when I got my shot because it hurt. But think what that did to save the lives of America. We need that same kind of mobilization and idea and focus that everyone deserves prevention. Now, why? America has significantly changed in our culture. We have some trends. ADHD, that's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Conduct disorders, that's the kind of aggression and violence and stealing and bad behavior that is very disturbing and very expensive for us as a society among adolescents. And cutting, those things are increasing in our young people. Yes, they might be overdiagnosed, but they are objectively increasing. And they are affecting all of that pyramid of expenses and taxes and safety and public health. Depression and bipolar disorder and anxiety and suicidality are increasing in youth. Just yesterday, and today is August the 7th, 2009, the Department of Health and Human Services issued a significant report that depression is the single most expensive healthcare problem in the United States of America, beating out cancer, beating out cardiovascular disease. And we pretend like there's nothing we can do to prevent depression. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not true. The National Institutes of Health and other agencies in this country and other health agencies in Europe and Australasia have in fact tested and proven strategies to reduce exactly those problems. Why aren't we distributing those ideas and those techniques just like the polio vaccine so that all of our children would be protected? Now, thousands of more teens are being unmonitored and unconnected because people are having to work very hard just to make ends meet in our current economic crisis. And that poses some problems for us in our general community. Younger kids are already committing more serious crimes. I mean, every person watching this video has picked up a newspaper at one point and seen a story about an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, or a 10-year-old committing a heinous crime. Now, we've got more stressed parents, too. With all the economic crises, the unemployment, etc., so many of our families are having to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet, to pay the mortgage, to keep from losing their house, which is already underwater. Now, stressed parents have a hard time reinforcing, paying attention, and monitoring their children, which then worsens the behavior of the children and worsens the emotional resiliency of the parent as well, dealing with such kids. So we have to figure out something that would provide a behavioral vaccine for our parents in today's troubled world. It's easy to blame them, but it's less easy to sit down and think about the fact that we need to provide universal access to every parent for tools that will make their lives better and easier. And I'll talk more about that. We also have an epidemic of obesity among our young people. And you might say, well, why am I bringing that up as well? Well, it turns out that many of the same things that we've been talking about from a behavioral perspective are also affected by the same cultural, social reinforcement and food and diet and environmental forces that are causing all of those other problems are also causing the obesity. And we have simple science-based solutions that would help that obesity, which would then also help all of those other problems. All of these things are increasing what's called the morbidity and mortality, that means death, of our children. And our children today, based on excellent science published in the New England Journal of Medicine, will have a shorter lifespan than you or I. Now that's shocking, because if our kids aren't healthy, they're not going to be able to work well enough and work long enough to provide for our care as we get older. So we have to pay attention to their well-being for our own self-interests.